Snow swept through the Chicago streets that night, painting the city in silence. Under a flickering streetlight sat Claire Bennett, 28, her thin olive dress soaked through, a torn bag at her feet. Inside were the remains of her life: one sweater, a photo frame, and the divorce papers her husband had thrown at her hours earlier. "Get out," he'd said. "A wife who can't give me children is no wife at all." Now the wind howled like it agreed. Claire pressed her hands to her face, trying not to cry in public again. Cars passed, no one stopped, until a dark SUV pulled over. A man stepped out, tall, wrapped in a navy peacoat. 3 small children huddled behind him. "Ma'am," he said softly, "you'll freeze out here. Come with us." Claire shook her head. "You don't even know me." He met her eyes. "I know when someone's been left behind." For a heartbeat, the world held still. The snow, the streetlight, her breath, and something began to shift. That single choice on a freezing night would change everything. Speech balloon if this moment touched you. Like this video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where every story proves compassion can rewrite destiny. Under the frozen streetlight, Claire followed Jonathan through the snow, each step crunching softly in the silence. The warmth from his house hit her like sunlight after years underground. Firelight flickering across soft carpets, the faint scent of cocoa and pine. The children's laughter echoed from upstairs, a sound that made her throat tighten. For the first time that night, she exhaled without shaking. Jonathan handed her a blanket. "You're safe here. That's all that matters tonight." She wanted to thank him, but the words tangled in her chest. It had been years since that word belonged to her. Days blurred into weeks. Claire woke early to the smell of coffee and pancakes, helped the children with homework, folded tiny socks still warm from the dryer. The rhythm of care became her heartbeat. Jonathan worked from his office across the hall, sleeves rolled up, eyes kind when they met hers. Sometimes he'd say, "You don't have to do everything," and she'd smile because doing things made her feel real again. But every night when the house fell quiet, she'd stare at the ceiling and whisper, "You're only here because he pities you." One morning a letter arrived from Marcus. His voice dripped from the page, cold and familiar. "I hope you've accepted the truth by now. No man will want a broken woman." Claire folded it carefully, dropped it into the fireplace, and watched it burn. Jonathan saw the smoke curling upward. "Bad news?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, just ashes." As winter melted into spring, her laughter began to fill the house. Emily danced again. Sam drew stories of heroes who saved people in storms, and Alex smiled without being asked. Jonathan noticed. One evening he leaned against the kitchen counter, watching her stir soup. "You've changed this house," he said quietly. "I didn't realize how cold it was until you warmed it again." Claire looked away, cheeks flushed. "You gave me a place to breathe. That's all." But she was wrong, it was more. She was rebuilding from ruins. Then came the call. A client from New York offered Jonathan a project that could triple his firm's value, but it meant relocating for 6 months. He paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear, eyes clouded with conflict. "I can't leave the kids," he said. "They've already lost one parent." Claire, standing by the doorway, spoke before she thought. "Then don't leave them. Take us." The room fell silent. Jonathan turned, searching her face for hesitation. There was none. Weeks later, they arrived in Manhattan, 5 hearts under one roof in a rented apartment overlooking Central Park. Claire juggled classes online and managed the household while Jonathan worked late. The children thrived, and at night the city lights painted gold across their faces. But peace never stays untested. One evening, Jonathan came home pale and angry. "Marcus contacted my office," he said. "He told my clients I'm sheltering a fraud, someone who lied about her past to gain sympathy." Claire froze, the world shrinking around her. He found me." Jonathan's eyes hardened. "He's trying to humiliate you. But I won't let him." The next morning, Claire walked into his office uninvited, clutching her small leather notebook. "I'm going to face him," she said. Jonathan frowned. "Claire, he doesn't deserve your energy." She shook her head. "He took my dignity once. I won't let him take my peace." A week later, she stood in the marble lobby of Marcus's new company. He was waiting, smug in a tailored suit, eyes glinting with the satisfaction of seeing her smile again. "Well," he said, voice slick as oil, "look who crawled back." Claire smiled faintly. "Not back, beyond." She handed him a folder. Inside were articles and news clips. Reed and Company expands humanitarian initiative for single mothers. Claire Bennett, program director, spearheads education grant for displaced women. Marcus flipped through them, expression twisting. You're working with Reed and Company. That's Jonathan Reed's firm." "He's my husband," she said evenly. "And these programs, they help women your company fired when they got pregnant or divorced. Every story you ignored became a cause we funded." The color drained from his face. "You think you've won something?" Claire stepped closer. "No, I built something." Behind her, cameras flashed. Jonathan's PR team had arranged the interview for a feature on corporate justice. Within hours, Marcus's cruel words, captured on a hot mic, "She was nothing without me," flooded the internet. Investors withdrew. Clients vanished. His empire cracked under the weight of its own arrogance. That night, back home, Claire sat by the window watching the snow return. Soft, harmless this time. Jonathan approached quietly, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't just survive him," he said. "You rewrote the story." She smiled. "No one is broken for being different. Just unfinished." Down the hall, laughter spilled from the children's room. Emily was reading a story aloud. One Claire had written about a woman lost in a storm who found her way by following the light of strangers. The camera would linger there. Warm light, soft voices, the sound of healing. But before the screen faded, the image cut to Marcus alone in his dark office, phones ringing unanswered, the same divorce papers lying crumpled on his desk. The voiceover would close with quiet strength. "Sometimes the cruelest ending isn't revenge. It's watching the person who tried to destroy you fade into the silence they once forced you into." That winter night had started with nothing but cold and silence. Yet years later, warmth filled every corner of Claire's life. She no longer looked back in pain, only in gratitude for the path that shaped her. Her story wasn't about what was taken from her, but what she found when she refused to stay broken. At the university where she now taught early childhood education, a student once asked, "How did you know life would turn out this way?" Claire smiled. "I didn't," she said. "I just kept walking." Outside, snow began to fall again, gentler this time, like the world was finally listening. Hope didn't arrive all at once. It grew, steady and quiet, from the courage to start over. Speech balloon. If Claire's journey inspired you, like, share, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where true strength is born from starting again.